Friday. This is Charlotte from Charlotte Travel again, and I hope everyone had a good Christmas and had a good New Year, and you're all looking forward to Chinese New Year. I know I am, because we have a few staycations booked over Chinese New Year, really making the most of the public holiday. So this time, what I'm really going to talk to you about is what travel looks like now during a pandemic. So we do have clients traveling now, and what we're doing is we're giving them a checklist on the things that they should bring with them. I'm also going to talk briefly about places that are open right now. So stay tuned because we do have some information that I think you'll find very useful. So number one is what you should bring with you when you're traveling during the COVID-19 pandemic. So in addition to all the obvious, bring your passport and bring your phone and bring your cables and whatnot, there are a few additional things that we do recommend. Now, depending on how long you're going, whether it is a short trip or whether you're traveling for a longer trip, we always recommend bringing your hand sanitizer and bringing enough hand sanitizer. You might want to bring a small bottle of alcohol as well, not for drinking, but really for cleaning the surfaces wherever you're going. Now, when I travel and when I'm flying, I always clean the seat and always clean the table in front of me when I'm on a plane. This was even pre-COVID, I used to do that anyway. So now it's recommended even more. Also for your peace of mind, the airlines are doing a really good job when it comes to cleaning, but we recommend it, anyway, just because it doesn't hurt. So one thing is also to bring enough masks. Now, whether you're going for a short or a longer trip, bringing enough masks that will, to keep you going for the rest of your trip is very important. Some airlines, in fact, most airlines have a mask on policy. So when you're flying, you should be wearing a mask. Some airlines also have a face shield policy, so they'll provide you with a face shield, or you bring your own face shield for when you are traveling on that airline. Now, another thing we do recommend is purchasing travel insurance well in advance. If anything happens, then you know exactly who to call. But in addition to that, we do recommend also carrying your negative COVID test. Now, a lot of destinations are requiring a negative COVID test prior to your departure. So make sure you have that handy, make copies of that, have electronic copies of that on your phone as well, so that if anyone asks, and whether that's a hotel or an immigration officer or it's a restaurant, then you at least have that handy. Vaccines are really starting to roll out around the world now. So what you can do is make sure you bring a certificate for your vaccine. Now, whether you've had the first dose or the second dose or whatever vaccine you've already had, it's always good to carry the certificate with you. Some destinations might start rolling out vaccine-only policies. Some destinations, some hotels, or some tour operators may only operate once you have your vaccine as well. So whether that has started to roll out now or that policy will be in place later on the line, it's always good to have that with you. Now, travel is looking to be longer. We might be looking at a longer process for when you travel and you go through the airport security and whatnot. We're looking at longer screening times. I always recommend bringing a good book. You might want to get a Kindle and pack a few books on there because expect longer waiting times as well. So the second thing I'm going to talk about today is what travel looks like now. Now, as I mentioned earlier on, we have friends, we have clients who are still traveling, and travel might look a little bit different now, but at the end of the day, you get that feeling of traveling, you get that feeling of exploring a new destination. Even when it comes to a new hotel. Now, there are new hotels opening here in Hong Kong, and there were hotels also that opened in the last 12 months all over the world. I'm going on a staycation myself, and just that feeling of going on a staycation and the feeling of going to a new hotel is something that I've longed for a very long time. So I'm getting excited, so I really hope you can get excited as well. When travel does open, we're obviously looking at a more normal kind of going back to what 2019 looked like when it comes to travel. But as I said, people are still traveling now, and you can certainly travel safely. Now, as I mentioned earlier on, a lot of places are requiring a negative COVID test. So we definitely recommend you, even if the destination is not requiring one, or even if the destination is asking for one that's within 72 hours prior to your departure, we always recommend you to get a negative COVID test prior to traveling. Now, when you have that certificate, you can share it with your immigration officer, share it with the hotel, or just to give your tour operators and your agency or wherever you're going the peace of mind that you have done this test, you're taking travel seriously, and you are COVID negative. Now, even if you have your negative COVID test, some resorts and some hotels might require testing when you arrive there as well. And these hotels will offer the COVID tests to you. Or before you leave, you might need a COVID test for your next flight. So we had actually some clients last month who traveled to Kenya. They went on safari, and we flew out a doctor to the middle of the Masai Mara, and they got their COVID test in the middle of the Masai Mara. The specimen was sent back to Nairobi, and they received their negative COVID test result within 12 hours. So they were ready with this fresh negative COVID test to travel back to their home destination. So, you know, we need to get used to the fact that we need to be constantly tested, and even prior to departure, testing is still available wherever you are. We generally recommend getting a negative test or getting tested. So we see social distancing as this huge movement where in Hong Kong we're socially distancing from each other when in restaurants, and in Singapore we're socially distancing each other when we're going in and out. So social distancing is an important aspect when it comes to traveling, and a lot of hotels, resorts, and even tour operators are picking this up. When it comes to social distancing, we're probably looking at restaurants taking more space between each table. We see airlines emptying out the middle seat, and we also see a lot of tour operators that are usually doing group tours or maybe now doing private tours. So when it comes to ticketed attractions, we're seeing that a lot of these places are limiting the amount of people that are traveling and going on these tours. So it is definitely recommended to pre-book your tour, and it is highly recommended to engage with a travel advisor. So we can pre-book all of these tours for you. We make sure that everything is planned in advance for you, as well as, you know, if you are there and anything changes, then we are here to make these last minute changes for you and make sure that you get the best and the most accurate advice as of that time. The travel restrictions are so fluid at the moment. Everything is changing constantly. So we're helping people navigate that as much and as best as we can. So when it comes to flying, now I think a lot of people are quite apprehensive about traveling on a plane, but rest assured that a lot of airlines are taking a lot of steps to making sure that the air quality is clean and that you're socially distanced on a plane as well. Now, if you can, you should book your seat in advance, because if you're traveling in a small group, then we always recommend to inform the airline that you are traveling in a small group and that you may want to stick together or you don't want to be too far apart from each other. But if you can as well, we're seeing a lot of clients are requesting to fly private. Now, if you have the means, obviously this is the most luxurious, but also the safest way to ensure that you are socially distanced from everyone else, and that you feel comfortable with taking your mask off on a plane as well. Now, if you've watched some of the last few videos I've done, we've mentioned some of the countries that are starting to open up for travel. Maldives being one that's very popular right now, and that, you know, Maldives is built for social distancing. So we are seeing a lot of clients traveling and inquiring about the Maldives, but other countries are starting to open up as well. All you need is a negative COVID test 72 hours prior to departure. This includes Morocco, Rwanda, Tanzania, and, you know, safaris, going on safaris or seeing the gorillas. It's also built for social distancing. So these are just some of the destinations that are opening up for travel. Now, we definitely recommend checking with us and checking what the travel restrictions are at the time, because things are obviously changing very frequently. But with vaccines also slowly starting to roll out, we're seeing countries being more and more comfortable with opening for tourism. For example, you know, as of this week, we've heard that Thailand is going to be launching a new campaign that will be pushing out in the third quarter of this year, where they will be welcoming travelers with the vaccine, travelers who have had the vaccine. So we've got our fingers crossed for Thailand. We're really hoping to get back to Phuket and staying on the beach and seeing Koh Samui as well. And just going back to the food in Bangkok. Oh, I can't wait. So fingers crossed, we're really seeing, you know, positive movements in the travel industry for later on in the year. And for the meantime, it's staycations and traveling safely and making sure that you engage with a travel advisor for when you can plan to travel again. We're still here, and we will be here for when you're ready to travel. Thanks for watching, and we will see you soon. Bye.